We went into 2008, the global financial crisis, as you may remember it. All the banks around the world were failing everywhere, and no bank would lend to another bank, and many of them were going bankrupt. So the inevitable happened. Everybody, all the wealthy clients, wanted to own gold bars. And now in Switzerland, buying and selling gold bars was as easy as pie. You ring up your bank, say, buy me a gold bar, 1 kilogram perhaps, and the bank would buy it and be in your account the very next day. So normally a very, very easy process, except that when all the clients came calling at once, which was what was happening, the refineries were overwhelmed. The refineries could not deliver the gold within 24 hours. Waiting lists were getting longer and longer, 2 weeks, then 3 weeks before delivery. And there was a lot of clients panicking because they worried that the banks might go bust before the 3 weeks were up and before they got the delivery into their account. Of course, gold bars held in safe custody for a client are not on the bank's balance sheet, and therefore there's no real danger. If the bank goes bust, you'll still have your assets which are held by the bank. And clients knew that. That's why they wanted gold instead of the piece of paper, which was basically a bank statement saying, we owe you. But anyway, long and short it was, eventually, even though my bank did not go bust, the clients all got their gold, even though they had to wait 3 or 4 weeks for it sometimes. And then things eventually went back to normal. You can buy and sell gold bars within 24 hours, just like always. So what did that lesson teach me? That lesson taught me that when there's a panic, when confidence breaks, everybody turns to gold all at once. If you already have it, you don't have to worry about the queues. You already own your own wealth shield. So that's my message. Don't wait till there's a panic or a crisis to rush to buy, because everybody else will be doing the same thing at the same time and you won't be able to get your gold. What about today? You've probably noticed that gold is at a record level. As good as makes no difference. We're living in the biggest bubble in history. Not just stocks, everything. Property, equities, Bitcoin, it doesn't matter what you look at, everything is going up. So here we have an example, the Dow Jones, the Japanese index, the FTSE 100, the debt issued by the government, federal debt, United Kingdom debt issued by the government, French government debt issued by the government. This is not the price of the debt going up, it's the amount of debt going up. Governments are getting deeper and deeper into debt. That's the second row down that you see here. Euro money supply is through the roof. The consumer prices through the index is through the roof. House prices are at a record level. Gold is at a record level. Bitcoin's at a record level. And I just put one other thing, a commodity here, it's meat prices. Meat prices are at a record level. And if you didn't know any of the others, you'll know that meat is at a record level from the prices you're paying in the supermarket. Why is that happening? Well, since 1971, when the USA and thus the world effectively went off the gold standard, the rest of the world was on the dollar standard and the dollar was on the gold standard. We came off the gold standard in 1971, and suddenly governments were freed from the handcuffs related to printing money. They could now print money without limit. So as the governments abandoned the gold standard, all discipline in money printing was removed. When governments spend more than they earn, they print the difference. Now, that comes about through a complex mechanism of the government issuing bonds. They're borrowing money, and then effectively the central bank ends up, maybe not immediately, but at some point down the line, it ends up buying those bonds to stop the interest rates going any higher. And as they buy the bonds, the central bank issues money, so the money supply goes up. And we can see that as of today, the money supply of virtually every country is at record levels. To pay that debt back, they have to borrow more money. And that creates a cycle. More debt needs more printing by the central bank. More printing makes the debt harder to pay. Many countries now have a debt to GDP ratio in excess of 100%. The most extreme of those is Japan, where the debt to GDP ratio is 250%. But there's plenty where it's 100% or more. But these levels of debt to GDP are impossible to sustain, because sooner or later interest rates are going to rise, and it's going to be impossible to roll over the debt at the same rate of interest, which will cause the interest rates to rise more and more, and then it all spirals out of control. In the 1970s, America printed too much money. It had been printed before 1970, that's why they had to abandon the gold standard in 1971. But as they printed, gold kept going up. Gold went from $35 an ounce to $800 an ounce. This wasn't speculation, this was people running for safety. Another example is in France in the year 1790. The French government started printing paper money called assignats. You can see one on the screen there, that's an assignat for 100 French francs. And these assignats, they said, were secured by land owned by the church. So at first people believed that these notes were backed by something tangible. But as the government printed more and more of these notes, it soon became apparent that they weren't backed by anything at all. So by 1795, just 5 years after its introduction, these assignats had lost 99% of their value, and they were still heading downwards. But of course, the collapse of the currency caused economic chaos. How likely is it that your currency will end up at zero? Here's a bunch of banknotes from my paper banknote collection. How many of those currencies are worth nothing? Answer: all of them. All of these paper currencies ended up worthless. Some very quickly, most of them fairly slowly. It started a little bit, accelerated, and then suddenly it came all at once when nobody wanted the money. Gold is not a government debt. It's not a company stock. Gold is a real thing. It's something that you can hold in your hand. It's something that you can keep for yourself. You can hide it. You can carry it across borders. No government can print gold. They can print infinite amounts of cash if they choose to do so. No central bank can create gold from nothing. In fact, all the gold ever mined since the beginning of time could be fitted into a 68 feet tall, wide, long cube. Central banks are buying gold like crazy. China bought tons of gold last year. India bought tons of gold. Poland bought tons of gold. And these are central banks which print money for a living. So they've got a pretty good idea what's coming, and they're trading their own paper, which they've just printed, in exchange for gold. This should tell you something. Either you follow them or you don't. But I think that they know which way the wind's going to blow. Here's the bad news for everybody, and I'm sorry to tell you this. The current system is coming to an end. It is ending. The maths doesn't work. The debt is too big. The printing is too much. The system's going to break. When this system breaks, paper will turn to its true value, zero, and gold will return to its true role, real money. This isn't a prediction. It's mathematics, it's history, and it's inevitable. The only question is when. What will be the catalyst to cause this to happen? It will come, and I'm very sad for those who are not prepared for it. But if you're listening to this, I think you know what to do. So, why do I hold gold? Because it's my parachute. It's my safety net. When something happens, it will get me to the other side. Gold has always had value. And it's always wanted. Anywhere, anytime, and by everyone. Gold has outlived empires. It's outlived governments. and it's outlived every currency almost that ever existed. It will outlive the current system too. So gold is private. You don't need permission. You don't need someone telling you what you can and can't do. Gold is portable. Take it with you where you want. And gold is permanent. It'll never get crinkled or old or shoddy or torn. You can hold your gold in one coin. You can hold your gold by stacking bars. But whichever way you choose to hold it, you can keep it. You shouldn't think about selling it. This is not a profit thing. It might make a lot of profit, but that's not the point. It's an heirloom. It's something that you will be able to pass on to your children, just as my Belgian lady did. Her grandchildren were very grateful that she could pass this wealth on to them, which just wouldn't have existed had she put it back into fiat cash. So your children or your grandchildren will benefit from holding some gold. Gold lasts. It's wealth that lasts. Is as powerful as the trust behind how you own it. It's not just the coin in your hand, it's the confidence that you're doing the right thing. Holding some gold will make you feel secure, no matter what the world throws at you. This is why I've decided to work with ITM Trading. They've been guiding families for years. They share the same philosophy as my grandfather taught me. Keep your gold forever. Real wealth isn't speculation with paper. It's protection with something tangible. It's passing something real to the next generation. So if you want to discuss whether gold should be part of your portfolio, you can talk to ITM. They can talk about whether it's suitable for you, about whether it should be in your portfolio, about what sort of gold you could own. They don't rush you. They just help you to understand gold's role in life. They can help you plan around your personal situation. Go and look at their reviews, which I just looked at, the Google reviews, 505 of them. See what other people say and draw your own conclusions. People say that the ITM Trading team treat them with care, treat them with respect, and treat them with patience. That's rare these days. So I read ITM operate with integrity. I think we're living in an end of an era. It's the end of the fiat era. The fiat money experiment is failing. The debt bubble is bursting. The everything bubble is popping. Paper currencies are returning to their intrinsic value. Zero. This isn't fear-mongering. This is mathematics. This is history repeating itself. When the reset comes, those who are prepared will survive. Those who don't will suffer the consequences of holding paper money which goes to nothing. The sovereign that my grandfather gave me has been with me for decades. I'll pass it on to my children. It's a symbol of resilience, of safety, of independence. For me, gold isn't an investment, it's protection. So if you're thinking of starting your own gold story, and if you're in America, I encourage you to reach out to ITM Trading. They can help you protect what matters most, just as my grandfather intended when he placed that gold sovereign in my hand all those years ago, 50 odd years ago. And he said the right words. Keep it forever.